Ciao, buongiorno, or bonjour for this particular episode. My name is Anthony. Welcome along to Football Worldwide. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to this gentleman, Jeremy Magan of the Casser, Ligne podcast on the amazing Breaking the Lines platform. Jeremy, welcome to Football Worldwide. It's awesome to talk to you.
Thanks, man. Ciao, Anthony. Thanks for having me. Real pleasure to be here as well. I appreciate the invitation.
Anytime. Not only do I consider this a talk, I'm considering this a little bit of a lesson today because you live in Australia at the moment as well. You know what it's like to have to be very specific and choosy with your football. We don't work with very good hours, my friend, so we can't tune into every single league. I've chosen Serie A because of my background. You've chosen the Liga and to prioritize a little more. So why don't you tell everybody listening a little bit about your background and where does French football start for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I am French, as the accent my giveaway, and I'm born and bred near Marseille, as the flag behind me says it. So I'm born when Marseille was the best team in France and arguably one of the mainstay all over Europe. So being born over there in a city called Istres, which actually had a bit of a professional club at one point, you kind of had to follow Marseille. It's a bit of a religion in the south of France. OM and because again they were the best team, you really had to be in there. I played football basically of my life. My older brother had a bit of a shot at being a professional. He ended up playing 5-6 years in the fourth division in France, so a pretty solid football player. I never went that far myself, but then I started traveling around the world and still following Ligue 1, and then fast forward COVID, I wanted to just keep following a bit more Liga and keep talking about it. And I started to look into what kind of podcast there was to just know about Liga in English. And I didn't find a lot that were, I guess, interesting to me. That there's some good material, but not a lot that talk about what it is to actually be Ligue 1, all the clubs, the history of them. And, it's not only PSG and OM and Lyon and Monaco. It's also all the small clubs that have a lot of history. So I decided to kind of throw myself in the ring. And at first I started a podcast that was called Farmers Corners FC because everyone was dissing Liga. So I thought it was a good way to start and a good way to tell everyone maybe we're the Farmers League, but see how good this can be. And it went all right. And I had fun doing it, talking about all the games every week, etc. And then I got lucky enough to meet Zach Lowy through some chats towards Twitter. And we ended up joining forces. And now 13 episodes ago, we started Casser, Lignes, which is a podcast about Liga and French football in general, and a podcast that I'm having a lot of fun doing. We have I have some guests as many times as I can, and we just talk about what's happening in Liga and how much this league is birthing talents and how well things are going, and here and there we try and see what those players can do somewhere else than in France. But yeah, just a football lover. Who likes French football maybe a bit more because I don't think I've missed a Marseille game in probably about 4, 5, 6 years maybe. So yeah, I like my team.
Fantastic, man. Thanks for that. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit out of you in this interview. I'll jump right into it because there's a fair bit that I want to ask you.
Go ahead,
so basically, last season, big season, transitional season. You have a new champion in Lille breaking a 3-year drought, although it feels like more than a 3-year drought that they broke because that also included 7 out of 9 last title wins for the Parisians, Paris Saint-Germain, who, let's face it, they don't just have a stranglehold on the financial side of French football. They are top dog. They are one of the elites. They sit there with the biggest of the big boys. Paris Saint-Germain is a wrecking ball on and off the pitch. What was the atmosphere like around the French fans to have a new champion last year? But I guess the segue and the most important part to that question, Jeremy, where do you see the short-term future for the French domestic top-flight football? And are you a little bit worried that this singular side dominance is bad for the league as a whole? I mean, I didn't know this, but you just mentioned you started your podcast, your French podcasting as a Farmers League podcast. Are you a little bit worried that you're going to trend that way again with PSG being so dominant on and off the pitch?
Look, to answer the first question, it was great to see a new champion last year. What was great was to see the fight for the title until the end. I mean, it was Lille, it was PSG, it was Lyon, it was Monaco, and if you look at it with a bit of step back that we have now, hindsight 2020, it was Lille overperforming definitely, and PSG underperforming with Thomas Tuchel being fired halfway through the season and Pochettino coming in and doing what he does right now, which is not bringing much to the actual team. So they didn't do much better in the second half of the season with a new coach. They lost a few games that they shouldn't have been losing. And in the meantime, Lille was just cranking it. Christophe Galtier that you see here is a magnificent coach, and he really, I think, put in his players' head that they can win it if they do a perfect season, and they had the perfect season. So it was great to see that. PSG, I think, seeing them overly dominating the Ligue is normal. When you look at the player that they have, when you look at the money that's being put into the club, they should run Ligue. They probably should have been running Europe for a while now with that squad. When the midfield was Verratti and Thiago Motta, and then in front of them you had either Cavani or Ibrahimovic. That was probably the best team that they had as a collective. At that time, they really should have won the Champions League. They didn't because of a game or another game, maybe lack of history, lack of cohesion in the whole club. And right now, if we talk about the short future, there's actually a bit of a sense of worry, not for Ligue 1, but for Paris Saint-Germain, because a lot of cracks are opening this season. We're seeing probably the worst Paris Saint-Germain that we've seen since Qatar took over this season. Sure, they're 11 points ahead of anybody else in Ligue 1, which is something that they usually were doing when there was Ibrahimovic and Cavani, etc., and with the squad that they have now. But however, 8 out of the 20 games that they've played, 21 games that they played, they get their points into the last 10 minutes. They rely overly on their individualities. And when I say the individualities, it's just Mbappe. Messi isn't performing where people want him to. And, maybe it's normal. It's his second club in his career. So, you gotta find a way to adapt. Neymar is great when he plays, but he plays a game out of 3. So Mbappe is the guy. Mbappe is really the person who makes that team the way he is now. And for some reason, they decided not to bet on him. There was those chats that Mbappe wanted to stay at Paris Saint-Germain in the condition that the club was going to be built around him. He wanted to become, the Raul or the Totti, if you want, of Paris Saint-Germain. And the answer to that was, oh, Messi is free? Let's bring in Messi. and so Mbappe felt a bit betrayed. Like, if Paris won the Champions League this year, the Ballon d'Or most likely goes to Messi, not to Mbappe, because Messi was able to bring the team there. It might not be what happened, but that's how the story read back then. So the worry is definitely on Paris Saint-Germain side. What are they going to do? It doesn't look like there's a plan in that club. It looks like it's just pick the best players and hopefully they can work together. It doesn't look like the coach is hurt. It doesn't look like Leonardo has a plan for the future. And to go even more further, the World Cup in Qatar is at the end of the year. PSG was the way for Qatar, the country, to put their name out there. It was sport washing. It was, look, maybe you think that we are a bad country, but hey, we bought PSG and we're bringing the best players there, and Paris is the best city in the world, and now we're the best club in Europe, and blah 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 blah. Just to make sure that the World Cup wasn't going to look as bad as it looked like it was going to be. Since the beginning, it's corruption, it's death on the stadium building, all the stories that we've heard. So it was a way to make that look prettier. That World Cup is now coming. There are some, chatter in France that once the World Cup is over, the money is not going to go into PSG anymore. It's done. What we wanted to do is done. There's not going to be another World Cup or another sport event in Qatar tomorrow or the day after. So there's a bit of a, maybe they're going to sell the club now, which, to be fair, it's now a sustainable club. They've made it a very big club. I mean, you come to Australia, you see people wearing the PSG shirt, even if they're not French. So they've made it. The PR marketing stunt did work. What didn't work is building a club that can succeed in the long term. They got rid of their reserve team. It might be a little thing, but 5 years ago, they decided to not have any more reserve team. So when you have a kid who's 18, 19, once he's done playing with the under-19, he's either good enough to play in Champions League and in Ligue 1, or he's out. And so that's why they're losing a lot of their very good young players, because they don't have an outlet for them. So there's a lot of things that are just not done properly, and we start now seeing all this for Paris. So we want them to succeed. We want them to succeed the right way. We want them to be the power that they should be, but also to make sure that next year Mbappe might be gone. Neymar He's not the star. Messi is at the end of his career. What's going to happen? Are they going to have to like spend another 200 million to be able to get the team where they are, or are they going to finally understand that they can build?
Yeah.
Last thing, in Ligue 1, is it good to have a team like this? I think maybe yes, because I know it's an argument that some people don't like to hear, but since Paris Saint-Germain has been this good with Thiago Silva, with Ibrahimovic, Cavani, Neymar, Marquinhos, Beckham, Verratti, Thiago Motta, I mean, you name them, all the stars that have arrived, the other teams have had to find a way to fight against this. The new breed of coach that we've seen coming in France, Galtier, Franck Hez, Julien Stéphan, who was at Rennes, now is in Strasbourg. They had to start their season thinking, all right, there's this moment in the calendar where we're going to play a team that we can't beat. How do we beat them? What do we do to beat them? And so then you had to teach your players how to play against those superstars. How do you play a Champions League game in the middle of your Ligue 1 season? And I think by doing this, you've taught your player how to be better, how to be against those guys. Mbappe might not be Mbappe if he's not playing against Paris Saint-Germain in 2017. He was at Monaco with the mentality that we know he has, which is he wants to win everything, and it sounds arrogant, but he says it. He says, I just want to be the best goal scorer in the story of Champions League, and I want to win 3 World Cup, and he's honest about it. When he was at Monaco and he was only 17 years old and he plays against Cavani and Thiago Silva, if he wants to be the best, he's going to have to be better than that team. And so next thing you know, I think he played 29 games, he only started 15, and he had 15 goals and 7 assists at that age. Maybe if it's not PSG in the league, maybe Mbappe doesn't become that good because he doesn't have that extra motivation to be this high. So it doesn't work for every team, but it would be a lie to say that having a PSG team that good did not level up Ligue 1 a little bit, because it's a league that's already very, very strong tactically. Now they had to be strong tactically to the point where you're going to play a team that we have seen maybe Laurent Blanc and Thomas Tuchel really be fun tactically in Paris Saint-Germain, but when they're unplayable. So how do you play the unplayable? And so, Bielsa probably came to France thinking, it's a challenge. I need to beat Paris Saint-Germain. Sampaoli, same thing. Like I said, those French codes that came up, that was a test. So it's not the best to have a team dominating, but it also brought the other team, I think, a little bit up a level. And it's a French thing. In the 2000s, Lyon won the league 7 times in a row. In the 1990s, Marseille 5 times in a row. It's when there's a team that's good, usually they try and make sure that they stay good. What I'm thinking is maybe it's the end of Paris Saint-Germain after this season. Let's see what the future holds after that World Cup.
Yeah, and it's not like it's just exclusive to France, my friend. I mean, my team, Inter, won the league, but for 9 seasons before that, we all know how it went. Look at Bayern Munich's dominance in the Bundesliga, and I dare say at the moment, the media loves to gas up the Premier League, but that's the only league in top 5 of Europe that's separated by double-digit points, pretty much, man. And like it's probably going to stay that way for a while. True. And speak of Qatari influence, there it is in the flesh, in the blue side of Manchester as well. Thank you so much for that, Jeremy. That was such an educated response. Thank you so much. Regarding this season in general, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this season in general, about how it's going. I know Paris have a stranglehold. They're probably going to go on and win this league. I know your team, Marseille, is flirting with Champions League. That's got to be the goal, right? 2nd place for Marseille this season to try and pip it from Nice. But, I heard you mention at the start of this show, like, there's still a lot to talk about in terms of clubs that have so much history in the French league. It's not just Ligue 1 or Monaco, because 2 sides at the bottom of the league, Bordeaux and Saint-Etienne, they've got a lot of history, mate, and they're occupying the cellar. Tell me a little bit more about this season and, some of the surprises. How's it going in Ligue 1 at the moment?
It's going good. Those 2 clubs that you mentioned, Bordeaux and Saint-Etienne, it's chaos. It's the worst thing that can happen to any club. Bad owner, people who don't care, they want to sell the club, but they don't do it the right way. It's 15 titles, 15 Ligue titles in them too, and they might be going down to Ligue 2. I'd be surprised if not 1 or even 2 go down to Ligue 2. But yeah, for the clubs on top, Nice is playing very well. I mean, they have a bit of money backing them up. Ineos with Peter Ratcliffe, the billionaire from England, he is backing them up, but they got Christophe Galtier the coach from Lille, who won the title last year. I mean, he's the star of the show. Like he's Antonio Conte at Chelsea and at Inter. He comes in, he has the charisma to make sure that everyone's going to listen to him. He has a clear plan that can work almost against any team with almost every single player, and he knows the player that he wants to work into his plan. And if they don't fit, it doesn't hesitate. You out, and I'm going to find somebody who's better than you to play in your position. So Nice has been impressive. It's a young squad. There's like maybe a couple of players over 30, and it's the defender Dante who's 35, and maybe the striker Delors who's 30. But besides that, it's like a 23 to 26 kind of sweet spot with Guiri, who's probably their most exciting player, who's just 21. So they have a very strong team and coached by Galtier. Galtier is such a how would you say, like such an efficient coach. Like it's winning 1-0 or winning 2-1. We don't need to win 4-0. We don't need to use all our energy into trying to score 5 goals. If we're already winning, we're just going to keep our 3 points the way it is. And I think he's got a very good chance at finishing number 2, because the teams that are trying to fight for it are playing in Europe, and this isn't this year. So he's got that going for him. Besides him, OM, like you said, Marseille, we know when we got Sampaoli, the Argentine coach, who's, I guess, passionate will be the word. We thought we had a new Bielsa. We thought it was going to be all attack. We thought it was going to be 4-3s and 5-4s and 6-2s. And that's how it started. The first few games, it's 4-3, it's 3-0, 3-1. And then there was a change coming in. And then it looks like our coach became a Guardiola disciple. It was about defending with the ball. It was about always having all of the possession. And if you win 1-0, it's okay. And we went through a run of 15 games with 9 clean sheets, and 0-0s and 1-0s and 2-0s, and not crazy game offensively. It's a bit sterile. There's a lot of talent. I mean, Payet at 34 years old is a genius this season, but it's just a little bit of a lack of urgency offensively, and that's hurting us, unfortunately. But we do control the ball. We're showing something new again in Ligue, which is you can have 70% possession and only score 1 goal. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it works. And with the game in hand, we are 2 points behind Nice, so we could potentially be second when we play that delayed game. The 2 surprises I think that are the most exciting this season are probably Lens and Rennes to an even more level. Lens, who just came back to Ligue 1 18 months ago. First season they finished just out of Europe. They finished 6th, so they just missed out on that new Conference League. And then this season they came back with a bang. I mean, this midfielder Seko Fofana, who was at Udinese before, for some reason decided to come and play for Lens when Lens came back to Ligue 1, when supposedly Napoli were on him. He said that he really liked the project that Lens was doing, and he wanted to go and play for them. And since he's there, he's just been a game changer. And some players have come out of the blue that you didn't know, and now pushing, knocking at the door of the French national team, like Jonathan Clough, their right back. You have a Polish player who comes from the MLS, Frankowski, who no one knew before, and now he's exploding. There's that striker on loan from Paris Saint-Germain, of course, Kalimundo. And so Lens is really playing well, and is trying to secure at least Europe, maybe not Champions League, but at least Europe. And Rennes is really the team that is impressing me the most. I mean, under Julien Stéphan, for 4 or 5 years, they had some good results. They won the French Cup. They qualified for the first time in their history for Champions League. They didn't do that well, but at least they made it there. And then Julien Stéphan got fired, and it felt like a bit of the end of the cycle, and maybe the end of actually their success. And they got Bruno Genesio as their coach. Bruno Genesio, who used to coach Lyon just after all the successes, and who is, in my opinion, a bit of an underrated coach, because he came after everyone winning everything at Lyon, and he didn't win. He got dissed a little bit too quickly. People forget that he was coaching the team that beat Manchester City a couple of times in Champions League. And he came to Rennes without talking too much, without making too much noise, but they made some very smart transfers. They are playing really well, and you can't find one player in that team that is not potentially a future star. They have Naif Aguerd in central defense, who's 24 but play like he's 36. You have up front Laborde. You have that new Croatian number 10 Lovro Majer, who stinks football. There's Bourigeau. There's a lot of talent, and they are lethal. I mean, they're clinical. They're killers. They won 6-0 this weekend against Bordeaux. They really are in here to win it. And in Conference League, they had a group with Tottenham, and everyone was thinking, and Vitesse Arnhem as well, and everyone was thinking, it's going to be too hard for them. and they just beat everyone, and they finished first of their group. So they're really in there, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be the one with Nice to get to the Champions League, maybe probably over Marseille, because of how strong they've been without playing with one of their most exciting talent, which is Jeremy Doku, the young Belgian winger. So there's a lot of good team, and of course, Lyon, Monaco, and Lille, although they really had a bad first half of the season, I'm pretty confident that they can get there. Monaco is the closest right now to come back onto European spot, and they just got that new coach who used to be at Club Brugge, Philippe Clément.
Okay.
And as soon as you arrive, you can see a bit of a switch. I mean, they won 4-0 this weekend, and they have talent, players that are going to play probably in bigger clubs from next season onwards. Chouameni, Sofiane Diop. Up front, they have Wissam Ben Yedder, who play with the French national team, Kevin Volland, to play with Germany. So they have a team that should qualify for Champions League year in, year out. They are not out of the race, and if Philippe Clément put them onto the right side, I wouldn't be surprised if they get there. So a lot of, maybe the title is too far, but from the second to the 8th spot, there's going to be a lot of competition. And at the bottom, seeing those two historic teams probably about to get out, they're not going to get out without a fight. So I feel like until the very end, the relegation story is going to be good as well.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You sort of read my mind with that question. You started speaking about the array of talent that's going on in Liga at the moment. And my next question was pretty much this. We have seen a lot of talent come out of France recently. Like, I'm only 29 years old, but in my life, I have always seen some of the best talent come out of France. Even if it's just at the start of the career, you can always guarantee so much talent is going to come from that league. In terms of the most recent ones, mate, the ones that I put on screen, Nicolas Pepe, huge move to Arsenal from Liga, and Ndombele, Tielemans, Camavinga as of late, Rafael Leao, who's tearing it up for Milan in the Serie A, Victor Osimhen, who's an absolute beast for Napoli in Serie A, and that's just to name a few, my friend. My question for you, Jeremy, is sort of what you just started to answer. Who's the next wave? Who's the next big wave? Give me some names. Give us some names to watch out for in Liga, man.
We did a bit of a draft with a friend of mine the last episode last time, and we looked at all those new players coming up. And I came up with like a whole team of people that maybe weren't known a year ago. So, goalkeepers, Alban Lafont, who had a stint at Fiorentina, is actually doing very well at Nantes. You got a new English goalkeeper called Etienne Green, who played for Saint-Etienne, who's going to be, I think, a force to reckon with in the future. He's only 21. And then you got Paul Bernardoni, who's a bit of a crazy goalkeeper, who's 21, looking like he's 57. And he could be somebody. In defense, you got players like Adrien Truffert from Rennes, Melvin Bard from Nice, who comes from the Lyon Academy. People now start to know who William Saliba is, but he's only 20. He's amazing. Jean-Claire Todibo as well. Naïef Aguerd, that I was talking about, the Moroccan international who plays for Rennes, definitely has a very bright future in front of him. And then there's that new player that started this season with Lyon. His name is Castello Luqueba. He's a central defender, but he's not afraid of dribbling in his own defense and making waves that way. I think he's going to be impressive. There's some players that are not that young, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see them having a good talent of a career. Jonathan Klaus, that I was talking about from Lens, his right foot is amazing. He's got, I think, only 6 assists right now, but every single set piece is a danger, and he's a wing back the way wing back play these days in 3-5-2, who just never stops running. If he does go to the World Cup at the end of the year, which I think he deserves, I think he's going to really splash it out on the world scene, and I'm looking forward to it. If we go into the midfield, Guendouzi, of course, is known as well, but he's really playing well with Marseille, Boubacar Kamara, who's free at the end of the year at Marseille, is probably going to sign for a big club. Milan was on him. Tottenham was on him. Newcastle is on him. I think he's going to have a big move, and you're going to see how impressive a defender, third midfielder trained in France is. Chouameni from Monaco, who's already an international with France, is also up there. You got a player who used to play for Liverpool. His name is Kirivella. He's in Nantes right now, and he's playing really well as well. And then there's, of course, Maxence Caqueret, who's been playing for Lyon for a couple of seasons in midfield. That is good. Offensively is where the talent is just crazy. Some names that I'm sure people have heard because they've already been linked to other teams, but Romain Fèvre linked with Milan, Yacine Adli, who's going to sign at Milan at the end of the season, Jonathan Bamba from Lille, Ryan Cherki from Lyon. Of course, those two new players that have started playing with Paris Saint-Germain, Xavi Simons, who's Dutch, and Edouard Michu as well. And then the strikers, we've mentioned Amin Gouiri, who plays for Nice, Kolo Muani from Nantes, Kalimwendo from Lens, who belongs to Paris Saint-Germain, Ekitike, the latest, a young striker who plays for Reims, who's 19 years old, and supposedly Newcastle was ready to put 40 million on him this winter. It just comes from everywhere. There's Lorient, who's a team that is not really known, but they have two strikers, Armand Lorienté and Terem Moffi, that are just talented. They're fast, they're strong, they're good at scoring free kicks. They have it all. There's just a lot of talent, and of course, me following it, the way I follow it, I see it. You're just always wondering, once they leave this league, which is so tactical, so closed, maybe sometimes it's hard to shine. Most of the time they adapt well because it's easier to be loser tactically than to be stricter. So most of the time they do well. But you're wondering, when they go to the next club, can they straight away get to the expectations? We've seen Morgan Sanson going to Aston Villa and not playing really well. But we've seen some players that you didn't expect too much from, like Jordan Veretout, who left Nantes for Roma, and the first season maybe was so-so, and now is one of Mourinho's favorite players to put on the starting lineup. So there's a lot. If you have to remember a few names, remember Ekitike, remember Kamara, remember Chouameni, and I think Saliba and Aguerd that people already know. In a year or two, they're going to be in bigger clubs, and I have no doubt that they're going to end up into the top 50 of the world.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. When I watch this video back, I'll be making a note of all those names and watching them closely for the rest of the season. Time to move on to a topic that I'm really excited to discuss with you. Let's talk Les Bleus. As an Italian Azzurri, definitely not my favorite nation at all, to say the least, brother. But not a great Euro, a bad Euro by your standards, but comfortably through to Qatar. And that's what matters at the moment, with me holding my neck awkwardly for those qualifiers coming up. But given the relative strength and depth of the squad still, which is still definitely one of the more attractive squads in world football, how do you personally think Les Bleus is going to go in Qatar 2022? And also, what's the overall average expectation of the French nation at the moment?
It was a tough Euro, man. It came to the final, and it was Italy, England, and my friends were asking me which team I'm going for, and I was like, do you want to have Casser or do you want to have 8? Which one do you pick? Which one do you pick? I was like, I'll support the referee for that game. It wasn't the result that we wanted, but we don't think it was that bad. The Euro in France, it's a big stain that you win 3-1 at the 80th minute against Switzerland, and that you end up losing at the penalty against a team that you're supposed to beat. But you started the Euro by beating Germany. You reintegrated Benzema into the team, and he's done a world of good to this team. You had to deal with Mbappe having a crazy ego during that Euro, saying in press conference, from now on, I'm going to be the one taking free kicks, etc. So there was a few heads that needed to be, just slowed down a little bit. Griezmann is just coming back to his level. I think there was a lot of things happening that didn't help the Euro being as good as it is. But if you look at that squad, it's probably still the best squad in the world. I think on every single line, you have just so much talent. The only fear that we have is the central defense, which is something new for us because we always had the best central defenders. And right now, Kimpembe, Varane, it's just not the guarantees that we expect in France. But, Koundé is coming up slowly. Upamecano is coming up slowly. Maybe we find the right balance. Deschamps already sort of removed Kimpembe the last couple of games. The expectation is to win the World Cup. I think there's no other expectation. Benzema is on fire. Mbappe is on fire. Griezmann is slowly going back to his level with Atletico Madrid. Paul Pogba, every time he plays with France, he becomes Iron Man. Chouameni is amazing. N'Golo Kante is probably the best midfielder in the world. There's not a place in that team where you don't have one of the top 5 players in the world, except maybe, like I said, central defense. So the expectation is to win it. We're a team that likes tournament. And man, I just trust Didier Deschamps. I know that the Euro didn't go well, but the guy's a winner. Whatever he did, he won. And he's that stubborn, Southwestern-born a little guy who doesn't want to be seen as somebody who's going to lose. It's his last competition. He's out after that. He wants to put that third star on that shirt. He wants to say that he won the World Cup playing, he won the Euro playing, he won the World Cup coaching, he almost won the Euro in 2016. He wants to get a second trophy. And you know, I think that they're going to go there, bar any injuries, in commando mode. And that's what Deschamps is going to tell them. You know, people are expecting us. We messed up at the Euro. We have to show them how good we are. And half of those players might be the last tournament that they do all together. It's the last chance Benzema has at winning a trophy with the national team. You know, Pogba, I don't know how good it's going to be if it's not Deschamps coaching him. I think that's where we're going for. If we don't win it, it is what it is. To be honest, anything else than a semi-final loss against Germany or Argentina is going to be seen as a disappointment.
Yeah, I would have to agree. If Italy get to the World Cup, I've said this to a lot of people, we might be grinding, but if we get there, I still expect us to go to the semi-final and only to be eliminated by a France or a Brazil or an Argentina, and that will be good enough. That will be good enough for me.
Jeremy, are you going to get there?
Am I going to go there myself?
No,
is Italy going to get there? I've still got PTSD from 2017, 18, man. That nightmare. And the fact that it came around right after the Euro, I told this to a friend the other day, if Italy qualify for the World Cup, I'll feel like I can celebrate the Euro all over again, because what a hollow feeling, my brother, it would be to win the Euro and then not qualify for the World Cup. Would I be looking up at that frame on the wall as a reminder of winning the Euro or as a reminder of not qualifying for Qatar? That's not fair. It wasn't cheap. You know what I mean? But Jeremy, this has been absolutely fantastic. It's been a lesson for me. It's been a great chat, and I hope we can connect again to talk more French football, my friend. Take a minute and tell everybody listening where they can find your awesome work.
Yeah, thanks. Feel free to connect to Casser Lignes. My Twitter, there's Jeremy.Magan or Casser Lignes, whichever. I'm on both. Just come and check it out. Feel free to ask any question if you want to know about French football. I'm always happy to have a chat about football in my country.
Thank you so much for joining us, my friend, and thank you for everybody for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and from everybody from Football Worldwide, ciao. Have a lovely day.